I would like to extend a warm welcome to all members of the Cabinet, other members of the Council, members of the public and officers in attendance at today's Cabinet meeting of the 1st of October 2025. Welcome to members of the public and press who may be watching the meeting live on YouTube. I am Councillor Jill Cleary, Leader of the Council and Chairman of the Cabinet. I would now like to hand over to Democratic Services to read the housekeeping note.
Thank you. Please note that this meeting is being broadcast live on the Council's website and on YouTube. It will remain available for a minimum of 12 months. I would remind those in attendance to use your microphone when speaking and to switch it off once you have finished. Please also switch any mobile devices to a silent setting for the duration of the meeting. If the fire alarms ring, please can everyone leave the room immediately and use the nearest fire exit, but do not use the lift. Please go to the fire assembly point located at the bottom of the car park by the garages. Thank you.
Please would members introduce themselves during the meeting if not already introduced by name. Apologies, none received from any Cabinet members. Leaders' announcements. I can confirm that on Friday this Council submitted our proposal for local government reorganisation, supporting a new rural unitary council for Mid-Hampshire. This follows a unanimous agreement by our councillors to back option 1 at our recent special council and cabinet meetings. Option 1 is the only option that truly reflects how people live and identify with their place. It is the only option that protects our rural character, our local voice, and our ability to lead our communities. The proposal is now with government and we're expecting them to launch a formal consultation later this year, before they then make a final decision in spring 2026. This month we'll be starting our new waste collection service in Phase 2 areas. Bin deliveries are underway for the 15,000 households in Phase 2, such as Ringwood, Fordingbridge, Burley, Branscott and other areas, and will continue into October. The new collection service will start from Monday the 20th of October. The service will continue to be strengthened, including recruiting additional staff to boost operations and customer support, and updating route assessments and route planning to improve collection reliability. We've also been adjusting food waste collections in pannage areas to address concerns about free-roaming animals. There have already been reports of visibly cleaner streets, and we have collected, on average, 48 tonnes of food waste per week. This has exceeded our expectations and demonstrated our residents' commitment to recycling. We have recently introduced a community lottery to help fund New Forest charities and community organisations. Groups from across the district can register as one of our community lottery good causes, enabling people to support the causes they care most about. And finally, I am proud that this Council is championing youth skills and careers by supporting the Better Futures programme, which helps young people who aren't in education, employment or training. The programme is being delivered by the youth charity Youth Options in partnership with a New Forest business partnership. Our support will help keep young people to build confidence and learn new skills, whilst reducing inequality and building stronger, more resilient communities. Thank you. Item 2, minutes. Do Cabinet members agree the minutes of our meeting held on the 3rd of September 2025 as a correct record?
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 3, declarations of interest. Do Cabinet members have any declarations of any pecuniary or any other interests in respect of the business for this meeting?
None shown.
Thank you. Item 4, public participation. Can't see anybody. None. Thank you. Right. Item 5, draft housing landlord tenancy policy. I would like to go to the portfolio holder for introduction, Councillor Steve Davis.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I'm delighted to be be presenting this policy change. The housing landlord tenancy policy is a tad overdue a review, so this is very timely. The main change is to move away from the flexible fixed term tenancies, those FFTTs. This is where we basically gave reduced term tenancies to our new tenants. The trouble with that was about moving away from those to give people secure tenancies for basically for as long as they want. That will enable people to build homes as opposed to merely have a place to live. So I think this is a very positive and right thing to do. Thank you.
Can I go to Kirsty Farmer, Service Manager, Housing Residence Services?
Paul Thomas.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Paul Thomas instead. Have you got anything to add?
Yes, Kirsty's on leave, so I think I'll just summarise, because I think the report's been through a number of committees now, but essentially it's outdated legislation from the Localism Act from 2011, which seemed a good idea at the time. The reality is that no councils actually used it, and used it in anger, if you like. There's been no High Court cases, and the majority of councils have now moved away from these. They're also, I think one of the reasons for that is they're also legally very difficult to end occupancy on this basis on a fixed terms tenancy, and there's huge legal processes and costs involved when attempting to do so. And I think, as the portfolio holder has said, that tenants find them stressful due to the security of tenure as well. And we do have existing tenancy, terms of tenancy that alleviate the need for them in any case, such as the one-year fixed term tenancies and the lifetime tenancies, in which we have adequate powers to enforce our tenancy conditions and evictions where needed. So for those reasons, it's best to remove these and remove the burden of bureaucracy from our staff, essentially.
Thank you. It came in with good intentions, I do realise that, but it hasn't really worked in what we wanted it to do, so fully supported. Okay, Cabinet, do you have any? Councillor Dan Paul.
As an attendee at panel, this item got a very good discussion and full support, and for that reason I'm very happy to support it as well. Not just for that reason, but I'm very supportive.
Well done. Anybody else? Right, I will open questions to the floor. Councillor Philip Dowd.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think broadly speaking this is a positive move forward. My concern is this is phased over a period of time, and so I do have a concern if there are tenants who are still on the flexible fixed term tenancy by the time we change to a unitary authority. The other issue I have is around the death of a tenant where they have children, more than one, who may be eligible for social rent housing, and how that situation works with there being one main tenant in the property. So those are the only two concerns I have, but overall I think it's a very good policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. Paul, can you answer those two, please?
Yeah, I think the rules of succession are quite clearly laid out in our existing tenancy agreements, the lifetime tenancies, and which I think it addresses one of the concerns. And yeah, I mean, we will seek to move people to the lifetime tenancies from the fixed term tenancies in due course. And the reality is that any one of our potential authorities that would join in a new unitary authority have their own tenancy agreements, and effectively this is not part of their package. So they'll be more or less the same tenancies as we go into the new authority. Not exactly the same, but they will contain the same legislation. There will be lifetime tenancies for social housing landlords.
Okay, so can I ask, will we have finished by the time we join a new authority any of these other tenancies, and they'll all be on the same assured tenancy? Richard.
Richard Knott, Strategic Director. Yeah, Chair, if I can just pick that one up. I think by the time new councils work on new tenancy policies and new tenancy agreements, which will be beyond vesting day, we will get to a point where there will be very few left, if any. So the councils merging together will continue with their own tenancies for a period of time, because it will take such a long time to bring it all together, and there is a statutory process to vary tenancies of any landlord, which takes a lengthy period of time anyway. So I'm not necessarily concerned that there will still be fixed term tenants in place in vesting day because of that reason, and obviously our staff will be used to managing those tenancies throughout that period, who will then form part of the new council.
Thank you. Philip, does that satisfy you?
Any period of time where there's uncertainty, I think, is a concern. I understand the information I've been given. I'm just concerned that for the tenants themselves, there might be a period of uncertainty.
Okay, but I think we are truly addressing that.
Yes. Yeah.
Can I take then Cabinet to the recommendations on page 5? Cabinet, do you agree?
Agreed.
Thank you. Right. Item 6, Corporate Plan, Key Performance Data for Q1 2025 to 2026. Right, this is my portfolio. This report presents the first set of our corporate plan performance indicators for 25-26. I'm really pleased to see that we are maintaining our performance in many areas. However, it is also important that we understand why we are not meeting our targets, so we can look to put appropriate actions in place. These are outlined in the report, and Sak Yazin, our Performance and Insight Manager, may want to expand on this. Sak, can I hand over to you, please?
Of course, thank you, Chair. Good morning. So this is the Q1 for April to June 2025. So it's the first quarter of this year. There are 23 KPIs reported in this period. As you've outlined, I will just touch on a few of the exceptions in this quarter. There are a number of summaries provided in the covering report for your information. But the first one I'd like to mention is the households and emergency accommodation. This is currently recorded as red, and it has fluctuated over the year and is always very close to the target, which means it is susceptible to being red with very small changes in the numbers. So it generally resides either side of the target. So in raising this with the service, we understand that the homeless prevention efforts have been strengthened by the appointment of a dedicated team leader and the addition of 4 floating support workers, expanding the team to support housing needs, landlord engagement, rent deposits and mediation. We have supported a new homelessness prevention drop-in service in Totton. So we will continue our efforts to try and manage that and bring that within the target. The number of Appletree Careline customers is reported green, and the development of our revised promotional material has been created and disseminated across the district, creating partnerships with age-related community-based services to promote the service, and we're pleased to see that's taken some effect. Our number of cultural events and activities supported by New Forest District Council has been, there's been a report of 31 over the last quarter, and this is a very high number. It's a combination of one-off commissioned projects, and we've seen these come into fruition over the reporting period, and it's reflected in the final data that we've seen. These are unlikely to be repeated, however. This still represents a very positive start to the reporting year. Our 5 safety and compliance management measures continue to perform very well, covering gas, fire, asbestos, water and lift safety. Planning numbers, we've had 6 appeals that were heard in the last quarter, all of which were dismissed. Fly tipping, we've had 870 actual fly tipping incidents in the last year, and this was discussed at length at panel. Although there is a new profile target this year, this is still higher than we would have anticipated. Our new targets are based on the previous year's benchmarking, but of course this is an extraordinary year. Our position last year was 775, so we've seen that increase to 870 over the first quarter of this year. A significant portion of the increase is linked to residents leaving glass and cardboard outside provided containers at Bring sites, which is technically recorded as fly tipping. And you'll note from the covering report, Place and Sustainability Panel have asked us to do some further analysis on the locations of fly tipping incidents, which we will endeavour to do. Our sickness remains a challenge, but we've seen our figures being green rated for the first time over the last 4 quarters, and performance is green across all 4 of our ICT measures. The dashboards were presented to all 3 panels, and the reports have been considered in detail at those panels, and their comments have been included in the covering report. I'd like to take any comments or questions before handing back the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Cabinet, do you have any comments you wish to make? Councillor Derek Tipp.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I just want to highlight the excellent performance of the Planning Department, which has achieved above not only the government target, but the local target, which is set much higher than the government's target. And we've even beaten that one. So congratulations to all involved in the Planning Department.
Councillor Steve Davis.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I just wanted to touch on the paragraphs 1, 2 and 3, these to do with housing and homelessness. Yes, it's a blight on any society for children and families to find themselves in emergency accommodation. That's why I'm really delighted that this week I've been able to visit a new unit in Ringwood for 5 family homes for temporary accommodation. Absolutely superb. And also I'm aware that in New Milton there's 6 more temporary accommodation units opening up very soon, certainly this year. And I believe there's some more in Salisbury Road in Totton that we can expect at the end of Q1 next year. So we're moving a long way from having to use emergency accommodation, which is something I'm quite delighted with.
Thank you. Councillor Jeremy Heron.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, if we're going to do this, we're not going to let any portfolio of mine down, and I'll take on ICT as my flagship one today. At the panel, I was asked about projects, and my mind simply went blank at that point. So I would like to congratulate them on hitting all their targets, and to everybody in this room who sat there with their computer in front of them running on Windows 11, an upgrade that our ICT has performed flawlessly and in record time, and for which they should be very, very proud. Thank you.
Councillor Geoffrey Blunden.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I just wanted to pick up on fly tipping and particularly at our Bring sites at the moment, and just want to highlight the challenge that we have on businesses actually using those sites at the moment. We are taking immediate action for increasing signage, but there will be a paper coming forward to Cabinet on a more proactive approach on how we deal with fly tipping shortly. Thank you.
Well done, thank you. Councillor Dan.
I don't want to be the odd one out, Leader. As I would just like to take this opportunity to touch on the cultural events, which, although we don't necessarily lead on, we are strong supporters of. And I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge Culture in Common, who I believe are providing a greater quality of culture to our district, and there are so many different really high-end professional events going on across the district. You literally get West End performances in our parks across the district, and I think it's lovely to see, and long may it continue.
Well done. Now to members of the floor. Councillor Philip Dowd.
Thank you. I'd like to return to the fly tipping comments. I'm going to leave aside the Bring sites, but I do want to highlight that I think I'm concerned about our small businesses just being seen as a problem I would like to see a more proactive approach with our small businesses to understand the problems they have, particularly around green waste. So I think a productive dialogue with businesses would be a really good way forward, rather than just looking at it as a problem. Thank you.
Okay, we will note those comments. Any other members? No? Can I then take you to the recommendations on page 43? Cabinet, are you in agreement?
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 7, Corporate Peer Challenge Follow-up Report. That is again my portfolio. As members will recall, last December we invited Local Government Association to conduct a corporate peer challenge in order to assess our performance and highlight any areas for improvement. The findings of the peer team were overwhelmingly positive. They praised our clear vision, strong leadership, dedicated staff, amongst other things. They also provided 10 constructive recommendations for how we could further improve on our position. I'm really pleased to see the positive actions being reported against these recommendations and the work that has already been undertaken. I'm also pleased to inform members that we'll be welcoming the peer team back on the 6th of November to undertake a progress update review. We do, however, find ourselves in a very different position less than a year later due to the local government reorganisation. I'll look forward to sharing the work we've done in the past year with the peer team and listening to their feedback in this new context. Can I take you now to Rebecca Drummond, Assistant Director, Transformation?
Thank you, Leader. So just to expand slightly, so the report throughout acknowledges the impact of local government reorganisation and does three things. So it acts as a position statement as to the progress we've made and some of the key achievements since the last visit in Appendix 1. It provides a detailed update against the original action plan to address each of the recommendations and observations for improvement in Appendix 2. And it provides an opportunity to update members on the strategic delivery plan, which monitors key activities in delivering the corporate plan at Appendix 3. The report's been considered by the Resources and Transformation panel and their comments are included, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Cabinet, do you have any questions? Happy? No. Right, okay, let's open it to the floor. Councillor Philip Dow.
Yes, on page 9 or 101, I'm pleased to see that the mobility scooter policy in housing is there, because I think that's an area that needs a lot of attention currently. Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Can I then take Cabinet, please, to the recommendations on page 73? Cabinet, do you agree?
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 8. Climate Change and Nature Emergency Annual Update 2024 to 2025. I would like to take you to the portfolio holder, Councillor Geoffrey Blunden.
Thank you, Leader. I'm delighted to present the Climate Change and Nature Emergency Annual Update Report. Firstly, my thanks to officers for the hard work in producing this excellent document. I'm pleased that we have strengthened programme management to ensure activity is coordinated, progress is monitored and accountability is maintained. As part of this, staff and councillors have taken part in carbon literacy training. Councillors have continued their involvement through the overview and scrutiny panel and task and finish group sessions, and a dedicated climate change and nature emergency steering group has supported staff engagement. Since declaring the climate change and emergency in 2021, we have steadily embedded action across everything we do. This report shows how that long-term commitment is delivering results, from cutting our own carbon emissions to making our communities more resilient and protecting biodiversity across the district. But I also think we all know there is more that we can do, which is why we remain committed to working with our staff, communities and partners to making changes needed to reach both our and the government's aims of achieving net zero carbon emissions by 2023.
Thank you. Can I take you to our officer, Roxanne King, Service Manager, Public Realm. Welcome, Roxy.
Thank you, Leader. I don't have much more to add to Councillor Blunden's comments, other than to say that this report covers the financial year 24-25. As we've seen in previous years, emissions data has continued to decrease steadily, albeit at a slow pace, but it is decreasing. And though higher emissions areas remain to be fleet for the council and transport for the district, so these areas that we'll continue to work with colleagues to address. Within the document, we've provided activities that have been undertaken by colleagues across the council and also those undertaken by our partners, in particular Hampshire County Council and New Forest National Park Authority. And these are split across our 4 programme areas of carbon reduction, climate adaptation, nature recovery and programme management. And yes, on this occasion I'd like to point out the real importance of the Member Task and Finish group and the work that group has been doing to help guide us and discuss some of the key issues to steer our strategic direction going forward. So members at panel have discussed this paper and I appreciate their feedback, but any comments from the Cabinet are also welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Roxy. Cabinet, do you have any comments? Happy? Okay, let's take it out to the floor. Councillor Philip Dowd.
Steve Clark.
I can't let this opportunity pass without raising the flood defences along the east of the district. I am like a broken record on that, and I will continue to be like a broken record on that until I feel our area is listened to and responded to. We need a strategy. It's making us much weaker at being able to coordinate any work there. So the sooner we get working on that, the better for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments noted. Councillor Steve Clark.
Thank you, Chairman. Just endorse Councillor Blunden's comments about the good work that's being done and take the opportunity to remind members, including the Cabinet, of course, that you have all been asked to complete a 10-minute member risk assessment form via the Task and Finish group, and I'm sure none of you have forgotten to do so, but just in case, if members could complete that, because it's a very worthwhile exercise.
Okay, I promise. Any other questions? No. Can I take you, Cabinet, to the recommendations on page 113 to 114? Are you agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 9, medium-term financial plan, scene setting. Let's take you to the portfolio holder, Councillor Jeremy Heron.
Thank you, Chairman. This is the first update since the setting of the 25-26 budget back in February. I'm pleased to say that we still sit comfortably able to invest in our service delivery and continue to allocate the necessary funding to support priority projects and council services. Within the report, you will see some assumptions based on the Fair Funding Review. Whilst this is looking fairly positive for this council, I would remind people that that has not yet been set in stone, and we must be cautious with that. And particularly, I have some concerns over the clarity on the new burden funding for waste. You will see that fees and charges are updated within there, and this is an important service that we do. We must maintain that and increase it and review it on an annual basis to ensure that we keep up with the inflationary costs on those services, to ensure that this council remains in a sound financial position. I will take just a brief step out to mention the HR account, which continues to see growth in cost over the next 4 years. But you will also note, looking at that, the exceptional delivery that the HRA is providing for the community, and its delivery on social housing and accommodation is still, I think, exceptional. Finally, whilst NFDC has a finite life, our financial position remains positive over the 4-year position. And this administration can be proud of the legacy that it will pass on to those, whoever they are, that follow us. And I am pleased to say that that is very important to us, and more so to our community.
Thank you. Can I take us to Paul Whittles, Assistant Director of Finance? Paul.
Thank you, Chair. Further to the portfolio holders' comments, I think it's really worth reiterating that the position presented here does contain various assumptions and is subject to change due to the number of unknown items. As always, we are reliant on the government's provisional settlement, which is due in December, and this may be affected by how they reflect on the fair funding consultation feedback that's currently undertaken. The MTFP does include reasonable provisions for future pay awards, increments and inflation uplifts, and additionally it includes further investment in our waste and street scene services. But work is ongoing to quantify resources required for LGR, as well as a review of our capital programme that has recently commenced. So overall, whilst the position is positive in the short term, there does remain a gap of over 500,000 over the medium term, and this could change again once clarity on those earlier matters are forthcoming. And as mentioned by the portfolio holder, the fees and charges do play an important role in us balancing our budget, and this includes recommendations to increase the charges of car parking and Key Haven River fees. Those will come into force from the 1st of January 2026. And finally, within the report, it does lay out the next steps about further engagement with setting the budget, which includes the Financial Strategy Task and Finish Group, Capital Board, Scrutiny Panels and Audit Committee before the usual Cabinet and Council approvals in February. Thank you.
Paul. Cabinet, do you have any further comments? None? Okay, thank you. Let's go out to the floor. Nobody? Wonderful. Let me take you to the recommendations on page 159 to 160. Cabinet, do you agree?
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 10, re-adoption 2025 of the Christchurch Bay and Harbour Flood and Coastal Erosion Risk Management Strategy. Can I go to the portfolio holder, Councillor Jeff Blunden?
Thank you, Leader. As portfolio holder, I fully support and endorse the recommendations set out in the report regarding the Christchurch Bay strategy. Members may recall that the Council initially adopted the strategy in September of last year. However, following the Environment Agency's assurance process in May of 2025, a number of limited but important revisions were required to address the points raised during that process. As a result, we are now bringing the strategy back through the formal adoption process. To reiterate, the strategy outlines the future risk of our communities face due to climate change, sea level rise and increasing storm impacts. Crucially, it identifies flood and coastal erosion risk management measures to mitigate these risks and sets out the associated funding requirements. While it is important for the Council to acknowledge the significant financial commitment required to deliver these measures, it should be noted that there is no legal obligation on New Forest District Council to fund or undertake any of the identified works. We will take a lead role in developing the investment plan, and this will aim to identify relevant funding sources working with our partners. And I think we've already on record of our achievements, particularly on gaining funding for Hurst Spits. We are very proactive in that field. Finally, I'd like to express my sincere thanks to our coastal team, BCP Council and the technical consultants for their dedication and expertise in delivering this significant and complex piece of work.
Thank you. Can I go to our Service Manager Coastal, Steve Cook?
Yes, morning, thank you. Yeah, I just added a couple of bits to what was said there. So, yeah, just to clarify, the strategy looks at a 100-year vision for sort of addressing the risks that have been identified. through the assessment work undertaken, and then identifies potential schemes that can be delivered there. I think a key point to note is without a strategy that is adopted by the local authority, that sort of makes the challenge harder in drawing down grant in aid through the Environment Agency to fund those schemes. So as part of that assurance process that the EA undertook earlier this year, we needed to look at some revisions around affordability, investment planning, and the starting point of some of the options for some of the schemes for our areas, particularly around Barton and Milford. So that resulted in those revisions to the strategy. One of the key areas around that, which is I think quite a good benefit, is that looking over the next 20 years, the potential need for partnership funding is now reduced from £39 million to only 13 million. Still a fairly significant challenge, but it does make quite a change to the potential delivery of those options. The other point to note is in the report there's a bit of an expansion on the table around investment planning, potential sources and options for funding. So starting off with a very, very long list, which we can then start to draw on in developing that plan. And as a sort of to reiterate, as the portfolio holder has already mentioned, we have no statutory duty to deliver this. We have no duty to provide funding, but it gives us the ability to aim to deliver the projects that have been identified.
Thank you, Steve. Can I take Cabinet? Councillor Steve Davis.
Yeah, thank you. I'd just like to offer my congratulations once again, of course, for this work. It's fantastic. But it's also a remarkably good example of partnership working, collaboration between two different councils and with a government agency. So I think we need more of this. Thank you.
Councillor Derek Tipp.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I mean, there's an old saying, isn't there, about a stitch in time. And I think when it comes to our coastline, that's very, very true. It's a great shame, isn't it, that the funding of what is a relatively small sum to protect our coastline isn't readily available, and we've got to go to all these different funding streams. I fully support the report. It's an excellent report, and it's got lots of excellent things in it. I'll just quote you one little part of it that I thought was really, really, really good. Climate change. The rate and magnitude of climate change is highly uncertain over the next century, influencing the amount of sea level rise and changes to wave climate. The rate and magnitude of climate change will determine the flood and erosion risk along the strategy. So, you know, we just don't know is the answer, but we've got to protect against extreme weather events. Thank you.
Thank you. I will go out to members of the floor. Councillor Steve Clark.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to mention ODU 14, Barton Cliff Top. I mean, it's long been planned to try to do some work there where you drill and think about how drainage might work. It's disappointing to see that, as I read it, not progressing and just going now to pure maintenance. I assume that is the case, that work is not proceeding. And I wonder whether at some stage in the future that work could be done, because it seemed to be quite a simple but relatively cheap scheme. And it would be nice to see some of the cheaper schemes progressing.
I'm going to go to Steve Cook for that answer.
Yeah, I could just pick up on that. I mean, we have actually tendered for that work. So there's a couple of elements of it in installing monitoring equipment and then the actual drainage trial itself. Costs, sort of current nature of things at the moment, costs have come in above the current budget, but we are looking at ways of addressing that through the capital bid programme and SIL funding to still see if we can progress that work. So it's still very much on our agenda to try and deliver that.
Thank you, that's good to hear. I thought it was worth clarifying.
Thank you. Councillor Christine Ward.
Thank you. Obviously, being a representative of Milford, I welcome this report and thank the officers for all the work over the last couple of years that they put into this. I know that we're not obligated to fund this in any way, but we've taken an absolute pounding over the years with the beach erosion, cliff erosion, loss of beach huts, etc., and it will go on and go on. So anything that can help to avoid any of this is welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, no more questions. Can I then take Cabinet to the recommendations on page 189 to 190? Cabinet, do you agree?
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 11, Draft Air Quality Strategy, Public Consultation Report. Can I go to the portfolio holder to introduce Councillor Dan Paul?
Thank you, Chairman. Back in February, this came to Cabinet and we approved to go ahead with this consultation. I'm glad to see that in the light of local government reorganisation, that we actually did get a respectable 96 responses, which, you know, any one time in local government we seem to be having consultations, and I know that the team were happy with those responses or the level of those responses. Yeah, very pleased, and I thank the people that took part. And I also thank the officers for the work that has gone into it. It was supported at panel, and I'm glad that, to support it.
Absolutely, thank you. Can I now take us to Rachel Higgins, Environmental Protection Team Manager? Rachel.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to take the opportunity to remind members that the draft air quality strategy, although produced by Environmental Health, was developed with support from colleagues throughout the District Council, including planning, climate, health and wellbeing, as well as colleagues from County Council through Transport and Public Health, the National Park, the Environment Centre and local industry. The consultation was undertaken over 8 weeks between March and May this year, and it sought views on the draft air quality strategy with particular reference to the 6 identified priority areas within the strategy, as well as general views on local air quality. The majority of the responses were supportive of the air quality strategy and the proposed process to implement measures to identify and improve local air quality further than what we've already done to date. The main concerns raised relate to the priority areas of planned development and transport, providing clearer public information on local air quality and developing our collaborative working to include the public and other organisations such as ABP. Overall, the public consultation resulted in only minor changes to the draft air quality strategies, and these are noted in Appendix C of the consultation report. The feedback from the consultation will help steer our decision-making when developing specific actions via our annual work plans to improve local air quality, and this is likely to include some public involvement as and when those plans develop. The strategy has been updated and is presented now as a final document. I'm happy to take any more questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Cabinet, do you have any further questions? Councillor Derek Tipp.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I do. I welcome this report. I welcome any opportunity to improve air quality, as long, of course, as it is a cost-effective thing. And I think we have to recognise that a lot of air quality issues are actually as a result of natural occurrences. For example, pollen, which is a major cause of the problem. And the weather, of course. If we get high pressure zones, we get low wind speeds and the build-up of particulates in the air. And my old hobby horse, of course, in the kitchen, where we're cooking food. We get very high levels of airborne particles and so on. And in particular, of course, if you burn the toast or something like that, it can be very, very high indeed. But you know, those parts aside, I just want to highlight one sentence from the document, question 19. What can we do to make a difference? And I'm delighted to say that the answer here is that they say that some responses called for the introduction of a charging congestion zone and others opposed it. And it goes on to say the strategy does not consider charging vehicles to enter any part of the New Forest, and there are no plans for the introduction of a charging zone. I very much welcome that. Thank you.
So can I then tell my husband I can't cook because I'm polluting the air? No? Cabinet, any other questions? I'll open it to the floor. Councillor Philip Dowd.
Sorry, I've got my thing on. I agree with things being cost effective, but we also have to look at the wider costs of where we're not attending with this, the effect on the health service. But I think that's a two-way street, and I think the health service also needs to be playing a part in mitigating health-related issues through air quality. So I would hope that there would be funding streams available when we're looking at these sorts of things in the round. I also, I have to say, bit of a hollow laugh when I read through the report. It's come at a time when public transport on the waterside is as poor as it's ever been, with cuts to already existing bus services. And of course, we've had very grim news about the Red Funnel service, for example. So a lot of the things that residents have raised, having better public transport, isn't within the gift of this council, but I think we should all be pushing for better public services across the forest. Thank you.
Thank you. Your comments are noted. Councillor Alan Glass.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one piece of good news, I think, that in a corner of Fawley, the parish, we have a little oil refinery called Exxon. They have just gone over to making, or they're transferring to making reduced sulphur diesel, which I think is going to help this a lot in the future. Although it's been a nuisance while they're transferring because they've been making noise and smells, this will help things in the future. So I think that's a good point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Nobody else? Okay, can I take Cabinet to the recommendation on page 351? Cabinet, do you agree?
Agreed.
Thank you. It looks like I have a matter of kind of housekeeping. Item 12, meeting dates for 2026 to 2027. Cabinet, do you agree the meeting dates?
Agreed. Agreed.
Thank you. I know, 2027, it'll soon be here. Right. Thank you everyone for your attendance today, and all the officers with your absolutely wonderful reports. That you do make sense. So, thank you. I would like to declare